The dark web was a place where anything could be bought or sold, and its reach was global. It was a place where people could go to find the most taboo of items and the most dangerous of services. It was a place where people could go to find anything they wanted, but it was also a place where people could go to disappear. One night, a young woman named Emily found herself browsing the dark web. She had always been fascinated by the dark corners of the internet, and the thrill of the forbidden had drawn her in. She had heard stories of people disappearing after venturing onto the dark web, but she had always dismissed them as urban legends. After all, she had never met anyone who had actually disappeared. As she scrolled through the pages, Emily came across a website that promised to deliver a unique experience. It was called The Ultimate Thrill, and it claimed to offer a personalized adventure that would take her to the limits of her fear. Emily was intrigued, and she clicked on the link. The website was dark and foreboding, and the images that accompanied the text were disturbing. Emily felt a chill run down her spine, but she couldn't look away. As she read through the details of the adventure, she began to feel a sense of excitement. This was something new and different, something that would make her feel alive. Emily filled out the application form, and within minutes, she received a response. It was from a man who called himself the Guide. He congratulated her on being accepted and gave her the details of the adventure. It would take place in a remote location, and she would be blindfolded and taken to an undisclosed location. The adventure would last for 24 hours, and she would be pushed to her limits. Emily felt a thrill of anticipation as she read the details. She had never done anything like this before, and she was excited to see what lay ahead. She packed her bags and set off for the meeting point, a deserted parking lot on the outskirts of town. As she arrived, she saw a man waiting for her. He was tall and dark, with a face that was hard to read. He introduced himself as the Guide and blindfolded her before leading her to a waiting car. Emily felt a sense of unease as she climbed into the back seat, but she told herself that this was just part of the adventure. The car drove for hours, and Emily lost all sense of time and direction. She felt disoriented and scared, but she refused to let it show. Eventually, the car came to a stop, and the Guide let her out. As Emily stumbled forward, her blindfold was removed, and she found herself in a dark, damp room. The walls were made of rough stone, and the only light came from a single flickering bulb overhead. She could hear the sound of running water somewhere in the distance, and the air was thick with the smell of damp earth. The Guide left her alone in the room, and Emily began to feel a sense of panic rising in her chest. She had never felt so alone or so scared in her life. She tried to calm herself down, but her thoughts were racing, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As the hours passed, Emily began to hear strange noises coming from the walls. It sounded like scratching and whispering, and she couldn't tell if it was real or just her imagination. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Eventually, the Guide returned, and Emily felt a sense of relief. But as he approached her, she saw something in his eyes that made her blood run cold. It was a look of cold, calculating malice, and she knew then that she was in grave danger. The Guide spoke in a low, menacing voice. "Welcome to your ultimate thrill, Emily. Are you ready to face your fears?" Emily's heart raced as she tried to compose herself. "What is this? What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice trembling. The Guide's expression turned dark. "You don't get to ask questions, Emily. You signed up for this, and now you're going to pay the price." Emily tried to run, but the Guide was too quick. He grabbed her by the arm and dragged her deeper into the darkness. As they moved through the twisting, labyrinthine passages, Emily realized that she was not alone. She could hear the faint sound of other people, whimpering and moaning in the distance. Her mind raced as she tried to piece together what was happening. Was this some kind of sick game? A twisted form of entertainment for someone's sick pleasure? Suddenly, the Guide stopped and turned to face her. "It's time, Emily," he said, a wicked grin spreading across his face. Emily's heart sank as she realized that she was about to become the next victim in a sick and twisted game. She struggled to break free, but the Guide was too strong. As he dragged her into a small, cramped room, Emily's worst fears were confirmed. There, in the center of the room, lay a table covered in sharp, gleaming instruments. The Guide picked up a scalpel and moved closer to Emily. "Don't worry, Emily. It won't hurt much," he said, his eyes gleaming with a sick excitement. Emily's screams echoed through the narrow corridors as the guide began his gruesome work. She could feel the cold steel slicing into her flesh, and the searing pain as he carved into her skin. Time seemed to stand still as the guide worked, his movements precise and deliberate. Emily's vision began to blur, and she knew that she was slipping away. As the darkness closed in, Emily realized that she had made a terrible mistake. She had been lured in by the promise of thrills and excitement, and now she was paying the ultimate price. The last thing she saw before she lost consciousness was the guide's twisted grin, and she knew that she would never escape the nightmare of the dark web. It was a typical evening when Amanda received a notification on her phone. It was an email from an unknown sender with the subject, "Package delivered." She was confused as she had not ordered anything recently, but when she opened the email, she found that the package was delivered to her address. The email also contained the tracking number and a link to the website from where the package was sent. She clicked on the link, and it took her to the dark web. Amanda was aware of the dangers of the dark web, and she had never ventured there before. But her curiosity got the best of her, and she decided to check out the website. The website was dark and creepy, and the products on sale were bizarre and disturbing. She saw everything from illegal drugs to weapons to human organs. And then, she saw it. A package that caught her attention. It was a small box with the words, "Do not open," written in bold letters. Amanda's curiosity got the best of her, and she decided to order the package. She entered her details, paid the price, and waited for the delivery. She didn't tell anyone about the package, not even her best friend Sarah, who always warned her about the dangers of the dark web. The package arrived 2 days later, and Amanda was surprised to see that it had no return address. She brought it inside her apartment and opened it. The first thing she saw was a letter that read, "Congratulations, you have just received the most horrifying experience of your life." Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. She had made a grave mistake, and she knew it, but it was too late to turn back now. She put the letter aside and opened the box. Inside, she found a small black stone with a strange symbol carved on it. The stone looked ancient and mysterious, and Amanda couldn't help but feel drawn to it. She picked up the stone and examined it closely. Suddenly, she heard a whisper in her ear. It was a voice that sounded like it was coming from the stone. "I am the guardian of the abyss," the voice said. "I have been waiting for a host to possess for centuries, and now I have found you." Amanda was terrified. She dropped the stone and tried to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was paralyzed, and the stone started to glow. The room filled with an eerie light, and Amanda saw a figure emerge from the stone. It was a dark, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It moved towards Amanda, and she could feel its cold breath on her neck. "You belong to me now," the figure said. "You will do my bidding, and you will never be free again." Amanda screamed, but her voice was silenced by the figure's hand. It covered her mouth, and she could feel its cold, slimy skin on her face. She was trapped, and she knew that there was no escape. The figure lifted her up and carried her out of the room. Amanda could hear the sound of its footsteps echoing in the hallway, and she knew that she was being taken to a place she could never return from. The next morning, Sarah came to Amanda's apartment to check on her, but she found the door open and no sign of her friend. She searched the apartment and found the box with the strange stone inside. She opened it and read the letter. She realized what had happened and knew that Amanda had made a terrible mistake. She called the police, but they found no trace of Amanda. Years went by, and Sarah never forgot about her friend. She always wondered what had happened to her and prayed that she was still alive. But deep down, she knew that Amanda was gone forever, taken by the darkness of the dark web. And then, one night, Sarah received an email from an unknown sender. It was a video file attached to the email, and the subject read, "The Guardian of the Abyss." Sarah hesitated for a moment. But her curiosity got the best of her, and she opened the video. The screen flickered to life, and she saw a figure that looked familiar. It was Amanda, but she looked different. Her eyes were empty, and her skin was pale. She was holding the black stone in her hand, and the figure from the stone was standing behind her. "I am the guardian of the abyss," the figure said. "I have claimed this host as my own, and now I offer you a choice. You can join me, or you can suffer the same fate as your friend." Sarah was terrified, but she knew what she had to do. She had to find a way to stop the guardian of the abyss before it claimed more victims. She searched the internet and found a group of hackers who specialized in taking down dark websites. She contacted them and explained the situation. They were skeptical at first, but when she showed them the video, they agreed to help. They traced the website where the package was sent and found the location of the seller. They hacked into the seller's computer and found evidence of illegal activities, including human trafficking and organ harvesting. They also found the code that created the black stone and destroyed it, hoping to break the Guardian's hold on its victims. A few days later, Sarah received another email. It was from Amanda, and it read, "Thank you for saving me. I don't remember anything that happened, but I know that you risked your life to save me. I will always be grateful to you." Sarah smiled, relieved that her friend was alive. She knew that the dark web was a dangerous place, and that the Guardian of the Abyss was just one of the many horrors lurking in the shadows. But she also knew that there were people like her, and the hackers who were willing to fight back against the darkness. She vowed to never forget Amanda, and to never let anyone else fall victim to the horrors of the dark web. She knew that the battle was far from over, but she was ready to face it, one step at a time.